sometimes I look in her eyes, and that's where I find a glimpse of us. And I try to fall for her touch, but I'm thinking of the way it was. Said that I'm fine, said I moved on, but I'm only here passing time in her arms. Hello. Today's not going to be a very interesting video, but I have gotten requests to make more of these, so this is sort of like a filler video. It's not a real video. Though there have been a few things on my mind very recently. One of them is like the dichotomy between picking a job that you like versus a job that you that pays the bills. I really don't want to get back from this London trip and have to look for a big boy job. I want to make money by some other means, because working for somebody that I don't respect is, I just feel like it's not in the cards for me. So, what do I do? How do I make money? I'm not sure. I like doing this. I don't think I can make money doing this, though. Maybe eventually, but I know the responsible thing to do would be to get a job. That that is like decent, and then do stuff in my free time, and hopefully the stuff I do in my free time works out. But at the same time, I sort of want to just hope the universe kicks me in the ass and makes me homeless and takes away everything, so I have to figure it out myself. And through that hardship, I develop mental pathways, mechanisms by which I'm able to overcome adversity, and I use those tools, those newfound tools, to build something like a business. Because I'm too complacent right now. I think a lot of people feel the same way. They're too complacent. Life is too easy, and so it's human nature to take the easy way out and go with where the current flows. I don't want to do that. I want bad things to happen to me. Like, as bad as it is to say, I hope bad things happen to me so I get set straight, you know? So I can actually do things in my life. But another part of that equation is direction. Like, you have to, if you want to do your own thing and make your own path, you sort of have to know exactly what you want to do or have a good idea. And I guess I've thought about that a lot, and I've come to the conclusion that I like helping people. I like making things organized, and I like making things look nice. I like functional things, but I also like beautiful things, and I think I have a unique definition for beauty that I haven't heard anybody else talk about. It's sort of the marriage, the reconciliation of aesthetics and ergonomics. I don't think something can be beautiful if it isn't both functional and aesthetic, like I said. So, for example, this is just a really bad example, but this flashlight, I would say, has some element of beauty to it, because I do like the machining. I like how it looks, and the clip is cool. It just looks nice as a flashlight, but the functionality side of it is that it's very bright. Like, it just works as a flashlight. The clip is amazing. It works fantastically well, and it takes double A's. So like, it has the nice look to it, and it also has some functionality. And the things that I surround myself with, this might be, okay, it's an unpopular opinion, but I think this looks good. But this is like the pinnacle of functionality, the ThinkPad X220. And things can be beautiful while still being like heavily skewed to one side or the other, I think. Like I would prefer something to be functional rather than beautiful, but I can't live without being surrounded by beautiful things. So you can't really pick one over the other. I sort of optimize for both of those things when I surround myself with objects, when I surround myself with relationships. Can relationships be beautiful? Can they be aesthetic? I don't know if aesthetics apply to relationships. I don't know. Anyway, that was on my mind. I also have a few other things on my mind, but they're like personal. I don't want to share them on YouTube. Stuff about like relationships, and I've been sort of in the mindset of wanting to create videos that explore more esoteric topics about the human experience that nobody talks about, but I think people think about a lot. And a lot of those come down to relationships. The relationships I've been in were good. I wouldn't go back in time and trade them for something else for the world, but those experiences gave led way to many interesting, I guess, scenarios. And that time in my life led to being in some interesting experiences, I should say. And I don't know if I want to get into those because they're rather personal, and I don't want anybody, if anybody knows who I am through these videos, I don't want them to know more about the people I've been in relationships with, if that makes sense. Yeah. Maybe if I thought about it more, I'd be able to create those videos and explore those ideas without necessarily involving the people that I was in relationships with. I'd have to think about that more. But yeah. I don't know what kind of structure these videos should have. I think I'll do a little bit of just turning on the camera and saying the first thing that comes to mind, and I'll also do a bit of like premeditated stuff where I actually think through some of the ideas and then present them on camera like a sane person. Because I feel like an insane person doing this. A lot of the things I say, to reference the previous video I made, I have confidence in that these ideas are good, but at the same time I'm full of self-doubt about, like, none of these things make sense. All of these things could be complete garbage, and I don't know. I'll just have to see what the world says once I post it. There's also another voice in my head that says, man, everybody has said this a million times over. This has been in the philosophy books since like the beginning of time, so there's no point in saying it anymore. You're not adding anything new to the table. And I think in order to explore the things that I think about that are novel, I do need to address and have anecdotes to the things that have been said so many times before, because those thoughts sort of lead to other thoughts. It's like it's like a really advanced chess position. I don't play a lot of chess. I used to play more chess, but I think it's a good analogy. In order to talk about a very complex chess position that hasn't been seen before, you first need to start with, oh yeah, he opened with the Sicilian, or he opened with the Caro Kann, or the French defense, or whatever. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. It's like those things that were stated in the philosophical books many years ago, or like even the religious texts, the Holy Scriptures. Those things are the building blocks for the more complex thoughts that we have. I think those are so fundamental to our existence. One thing that I think about a lot, or have thought about a lot in the past, is the fact that the holy books, like the Bible, the Quran, all of those books, they are the result of Darwinian evolution by natural selection in the context of memes. Dawkins talks a lot about memes and how they get transferred, and how they're a lot like organisms in a sense, and ideas themselves are a lot like organisms. They could reproduce by going from one person to another person. They can die out. The last person that has an idea dies, and then the idea dies with it, unless it spontaneously arises from another person. I don't know. Like the metaphor kind of falls apart if you really dig into it, I think, but it's a good framework for what I was about to say, which is the Bible is the collection of ideas that have survived the test of time. they've been passed on word of mouth or through the text now. Like people have been writing them down after some point in history, once they got papers and pencils and stuff, papyrus and ink. And so those ideas, they're so fundamental. They resonate with our existence, the human experience, so much so that people have continued to talk about them and write them down. So from my view, don't hate me, but I don't view these Holy Scriptures as a complete literal representation of the world. It's not like a historical account of events. It's more like a set of ideas that resonate with people so deeply that they've stood the test of time. And something about that is very profound, and that in itself should be a reason why you should read these books. I'm a bit of a hypocrite here because I don't read as much of the Holy Scriptures as I want. I should have brought a Bible with me. Anyway. Yeah, fundamental ideas lead to the invention or maybe discovery of more complex, nuanced ideas. So read the classics first. Build things up from first principles, like who was it? Descartes? No. Yeah. Well, Descartes did do the first principles thing, where he decided to forget everything he thought was real, or not forget, but just like pretend like it didn't exist, and then from there he went on to deduce what is actually real, what is provably existent from those fundamental things that he was left with once he disregarded everything else, that like your sensory data, all of that stuff. If you throw that out the window, basically the conclusion that he came to is cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am. So you can only prove that you exist, right? Again, these things have been said a million times before, but maybe it's important to say again. I keep coming back to that. Anyway, where was I going with that? He stripped away everything, right? And then he deduced things from first principles, and the only thing that he could deduce was that you can know that you exist, but nothing else. Now, that's not very helpful in a more general sense, because things happen, the universe happens, and you need more frameworks than just I think, therefore I am to explain things. You need assumptions. You need to rely on the existence of things to base your conception of the world on. Yeah. So you must have assumptions, and those assumptions may or may not be true, and that's scary. To live in a world of uncertainty because you can't prove the very fundamental things that you base all of your ideas off of. Not to get like postmodern on you. I guess I'm just like throwing a bunch of ideas out here. And the other, it's like I have, it's like Ryan Higa. He makes those ADHD videos where he just jumps from topic to topic. If you've seen him, you know what I'm talking about. He's very good at that, and it's very entertaining. But topics are just making me think of more topics, and I just keep going on more and more tangents, and that's sort of the nature of this vlog right now. And to address the postmodern thing that I just mentioned, I had another thought about it, and that thought was that I think the postmodernists are right, but I don't think you should act in accordance with what the postmodernists believe. That is to say, postmodernists, who say that language is like, it's not actually directly one-to-one to the words that those languages describe. Like the physical objects that words describe are not like the same thing. There's like a substrata or like a network of words, and they are supposed to reference specific things that exist in the real world, but they do so not 100% effectively. So that leaves you to conclusions like words and stuff are just used to by groups to gain power. This is just a very brief rundown of postmodernism because I don't know it very well myself. But I do think logically all of that checks out. But the conclusions that you draw which impact the way you live your life are not to be followed. I think that you should live your life as a dumb person, as somebody who isn't educated, because then, that's bad to say, I don't think that's 100% truthful. I should think about that a little more before I say things. But a lot of smart people are blinded by their own intellect, and they believe things that are logically true, but that's not how the counterintuitive nature of this world makes things play out in reality. So you sort of have to have faith in that sense that the world is like counterintuitive, obviously, and you can't logically deduce everything. And oftentimes the things that you think are right, that you came to conclusions from using your intellect, are just not the full picture. And if you live your life in accordance with those intellectual deductions, then you are going to miss out on so much. It's like, I think I believe that that if you were to purely take the scientific community and go with everything that they said, the world would end very quickly. And I don't think that's a very popular view to have. Of course, you need some sort of progression. You need progressives in order to further our knowledge and expand our capabilities as a species. But conservatives are playing it safe, and they know what is tried and true, and they act that out. And I think on an individual basis, or like a familial basis, having to do with the family, I do think you should be more conservative than progressive, in order to really build a foundation for yourself. Once you have that foundation, like once you build yourself up, once you've been in the gym for a while, or like are in good physical health, and you have your stuff together, then you can start exploring and pushing the boundaries of what you believe, and debunking things that you had initially thought were true but aren't. That's when you do some exploration. Yeah. Words, more words, even more words. I have more controversial things to say, but I'll probably save that for a future video, if any video at all, because I still want to be employable. Though maybe I just say a bunch of things that would make me unemployable. I don't really have any views. I don't have many views that would make me unemployable. That's not what I'm saying, but I am saying that most people do have at least a couple things that they wouldn't say in the office. And that exists for everybody, So don't feel bad if you have opinions that go contrary to the mainstream narrative. It's like, be your own person. If you're not disagreeable in some sense with your opinions, then you're not a real person, I would say. So be a real person, have your own thoughts. That's how I'm going to end this video. Yeah.